Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kai, and welcome back to Warframe. Today, we will be taking a look at the Phenmor. The Phenmor is widely considered as the strongest rifle in the entire game. Now, the Phenmor is an incarnate weapon, which means you won't have access to it until completing the New War quest and the Angels of the Zariman quest. So, get on that as soon as possible, because alongside the Phenmor, you have things like the Latum and the Felarks, the Inodem, and the Praetos that are absolutely fantastic and 100% deserve a spot in your inventory or even your main weapon. I use the Phenmor all the time. So let's go hop into the sim and I can show you why this gun is as good as it is. Here we are in the sim, but the first thing that I actually want to do before we go over the actual build is go over to Cavallero in the Chrysolith. So I'll see you there, because that is where you actually get to choose the Phenmor's evolutions, because it is an incarnate weapon. So let's go there. Now we can take a look at the actual build. So, as I stated previously, the Phenmor and Latum and Felarks are anti-crit weapons, which means you don't want to build any crit on them, which, if we come over into the upgrades section here, frees them from the normal critical mods that you see on a lot of builds, like Galvanized Scope, Critical Delay, Vital Sense, Hammer Shot, Hunting Munitions for Slash. All of these mods that you could see on the normal build, you don't need. Which is really, really great for the Phenmor, because it opens it up to a lot more build options. First thing I'll say, though, is that this is going to be a raw damage build. This is just to be able to go into the steel path and literally just kill everything. Alright, like, you don't need any priming with this. The ridiculous amount of damage that the Phenmor does, you won't, like, this won't start to slow down until you hit, like, level, like, 1500. And I'm sorry, but nobody goes that high. And the people who do, DE does not balance this game around staying in the same survival mission for 6 hours. So building and making videos for things like that are not what I'm going to do, because nobody does that, and I don't do that. So if I don't do that, why would I show you guys that? But anyways, looking at it first here, this is just a raw damage build. So the arcane of choice today will be Primary Deadhead. Deadhead gives us minus 50% weapon recoil and plus 30% to our headshot multiplier, alongside also giving us the extra 360% damage when we get 3 precision kills. You can go with Primary Merciless, but one, it is really easy to headshot with this gun. It kills very, very quickly. And also, raw damage plus 30% to the headshot multiplier, it just makes it do more damage. And the weapon recoil minus is good. But moving on to the mods. First one, Galvanized Chamber. This mod is on every single weapon. I don't know if there's a single weapon in the entire game that doesn't use Galvanized Chamber or normal split chamber. Multi-shot is multi-shot. It's literally just the most brain-dead mod ever. Now, next, Galvanized Aptitude. As you see, this increases our status chance, which is nice, but this also works really well because when we get later into the build, you'll see that we're going to be having innate radiation on the incarnate form, which you're going to be in most of the time. Along with its really, really high slash weighting, the two other status effects that we add to this build with Galvanized Aptitude will increase our damage a lot more than if we just use something like Serration. Moving on, next, we're going to go over the elements. So, raw damage is corrosive. Corrosive is just great against pretty much everything, and the negatives it has against some enemies in the game are completely taken, you know, they don't matter because the Phenmor just does so much damage. It is raw damage, so we're going to be using the higher stat mods. Infected Clip and Stormbringer gives us that corrosive instead of the 60/60s because we want as much damage as possible. Now, the other mod that we use here is Heat for corrosive heat. I actually do need to switch how these are ordered. There we go. Corrosive Heat. Make sure that you have them ordered where heat is the last mod in the section, or else you'll get, like, you know, if you put it here, you'll get toxin radiation. We don't want that. Corrosive Heat. This is phenomenal. Corrosive strips armor and is also really effective against ferrite armor, which is what pretty much all armored enemies in the game have. Heat is just a general really, really good stat. So, we use that on here. These two paired together kind of just destroy everything, and coming down to the incarnate form, slash heat, radiation, corrosive, we'll be proccing all of those on a target because the Phenmor fires so fast that, you know, will have a lot of status on them. Now, next, Vial Acceleration. I use Vial Acceleration. The minus 15% damage is not important at all. You will not notice it. And the plus 90% fire rate is really big here. Because you don't need to build the Incarnate weapons for crit, there's like... You really... Looking at a lot of these mods, there's not much like here that you really like, oh, I want to use that. But the next thing we'll use actually is Shred. See, the Incarnate form has base 3 meters of punch through. Shred adds more. Prime Shred adds even more. Use Prime Shred if you can. That plus 55% will make this thing fire even faster, because right now we're already at 29 bullets a second. Now, this last slot here is where I recommend you use something like a Bane. If you're going up against Grenier, use Bane of Grenier. Honestly, if you have the Prime version, definitely use that. But you can kind of just leave Bane of Grenier in here all the time if you don't want to swap it out. The Phenmor does so much damage that the only enemy type you'll need it against are Grenier, but you don't even really need this. So, looking at this here, what can you put in this last slot? Kind of whatever. More base damage with Serration, although that's not really needed. Do you want more fire rate? Go Speed Trigger. The buff that Vigilante Armaments gives is not like the plus 60% multi-shot is not good enough when Galvanized Chamber's in play, so I actually don't recommend this one. And Hammer Shot does not buff your damage enough. We're not getting crits, and the extra status chance is like meh. So in this last slot, you can put in Thermite rounds. You can kind of do whatever. Although a Bane is definitely your best option. In your Exilus, I did state earlier that the Phenmor does shoot projectiles a little slow, so I recommend Terminal Velocity here. This just speeds those projectiles up, makes them hit contact with target quicker, which is nice because it is a little slow on that side. I actually decided to just use Serration because I don't own a Bane of Corrupted, which are the enemies we'll be testing this on, because that Bane and the other subsequent ones for other weapons come from Defection, and I do not want to put myself through the torture of playing Defection. So I do not have those. Serration will do me just fine though, and I did swap to Protea just to prove that I will not be getting any extra damage because Garuda does have her passive which increases it. And just to look at the Protea build, nothing here is going to be giving me any extra damage with the Phenmor other than itself and the stacks that it builds. So, got some Corrupted Heavy Gunners spawned here. Let's just go up. Now, the Incarnate weapons do need to build their Incarnate charge. That little bar under my reticle that you can see is the Incarnate meter, and as I get headshots, it begins to stack up. As you can see though, the base Phenmor is really, really strong. When you get that 2000% damage proc, look at that. That is one tap. Like, that is just ridiculous amounts of damage. But if I bring it into Incarnate form, turns into this. An arc gun style minigun. When you fire it, yeah. Now, the Phenmor does have a reverse spool in Incarnate mode, which means that the longer you fire it, the slower it will fire. So you don't want to be firing it for very long, or else it'll start shooting very slow, although kind of negligible. And when you're not ADSing, the recoil is a little bit more because Deadhead isn't in, or Void's Guidance isn't in full effect. But let's look at this on some enemies. It also does have punch through, so remember. Yeah, that's a lot of damage, if you couldn't tell. Now, you can also bring it back into non-Incarnate form at any moment. Just press your Alt-Fire again, and you'll get here. And you do not need a full charge to bring yourself into Incarnate form. You can get it to halfway, and then you can charge it in to Incarnate and get the minigun out. But it is probably the best to just bring it into the full bar, because as you saw before, it is really, really easy to charge up the bar. I like to use Magus Lockdown. It kind of, you know, makes enemies just sit here, so even when they are moving, and then it just gets really easy to charge up on them. Then you get it into Incarnate form, and like, you know, if you're using a grouping ability such as Protea, just the absolute meat grinder that this gun is whew, kind of ridiculous. But that's not all that the Phenmor has to offer. As you can see, I'm here on Zephyr just because she will be the frame that I go into the Void with to show off the demonstration, because she is great as a weapons platform with Roar subsumed on and what is it called? Turbulence, I think, to make you practically invulnerable. If you have a Riven for the Phenmor, this is not a good Riven that I have here, but the main point of it is that it reduces your critical chance. So if you see, I have negative 3.2 crit chance. This means that I will never hit a crit. So the bonus that you get, 2000% chance to deal, or you get 50% chance to deal 2000% damage on non-crits. Before, with any amount of crit, you had to first not get a crit, and then you had a 50% chance on top of that. Now it is just a flat 50% chance to deal plus 2000% damage, which is wild. The best stats that you can possibly get for this are plus multi-shot, plus status chance, and some other positive. You do want 3 positives and then triple positives and then negative crit chance. The negative crit chance is the most important thing. I also just happen to have projectile speed here, which means that I don't need to use what is it called, terminal velocity here. So I probably would put in something like stabilizer, so I don't need to use Void's guidance. I also get my electricity from my Riven. If you get one of these, heat, toxin, or electricity from your Riven, that's a great as a positive. So like status chance, multi-shot, and electricity is great here. And then I also have some slash, which is fine. Higher slash rating actually makes it pretty good against those little bit higher health targets. But yeah, I also have Serration right here because I don't really like to use Banes, but that's just like, this doesn't really do much, but it's there because why not? You know? So let's go. Let's show this one off. This one's a little bit, or a lot of bit crazier than the last one. It's going to be a little bit indiscernible because all it does is remove its ability to crit, but I promise you, this is a huge buff for the Phenmor. I mean, yeah, you know what? That was a lot of damage right there. I'll give it to you. I do actually have some viral procs on these enemies, so I am kind of a little buffed by my Vulpaphyla, but trust me, having a negative crit Riven just... yeah. And, you know, as you saw there, I actually did hit a crit on Zephyr because her passive is when you're in the air, you do get more crit chance. So, you know, Zephyr is great and bad for the Phenmor because you don't want to be in the air, but still. Like, it's so strong. It's so strong. That is the build for the Phenmor, everybody. I'm going to actually take it into the Steel Path now, just to show that, you know, with high enemy density, this thing just mows down enemies. So, I'll see you there. Here we are in Mott, the Void, on the Steel Path, my favorite testing spot. Now, I'm on Zephyr purely because she is practically invulnerable with Turbulence. Before the mission starts, I do like to cast Zenerek because this is a bit of a caster build for her. Now, I do have Roar subsumed onto her. I'm not going to use it in this video. I might accidentally proc it, but I'm going to intentionally try to not use it. Purely just to show you that with no outside buffs, the Phenmor is absolutely ridiculous. So, let's get it started. Just this, and I won't even cast Tornadoes. Just the raw Phenmor. Got Incarnate Form.
You're making waves, Dreams. I can feel.
Yeah, things just, everything just dies. Like, is its AoE nuke as aggressive as some other ones? No. But, oh my god, does it just... like, it just kills. Alright, so I actually wasn't paying attention and died when the Acolyte spawned because my Turbulence ran out. But I did kind of, you know, pretty much insta-kill him. It's just I didn't get the full kill. Yeah, the Phenmor is the Phenmor. Like, there just really ain't much to say about it. It just kills things so quickly.
The operative has just made their first discovery.
It's such a cakewalk, and I mean, Zephyr is super, super strong, but you guys, like, boop, boop. Yeah, kind of nuts, isn't it? So that is going to be it for this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate the continuous support, and I hope that you might have found a new favorite weapon, or at least, at the very least, one of your new favorite weapons in the Phenmor, because it is one of mine. It is just so, so very strong. I'm probably going to do reviews on all of the Incarnate weapons, including the two melees, the Anodem and the Praetos, very soon, so be on the lookout for those. And again, thank you for all of the continuous support. It really means a lot to me. But everyone, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.